It's a not my thing. It's a not my thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Live Stream News of the Week edition. And we thought we would do a little bit of a deep dive into why foreign policy matters.
Yes, the deep end of the pool. Warning, warning. I don't know if we're going to survive. We may drown in this stuff. Oh, my God. But,
yeah, it's like, where do you look first, right? So trying to pick like some subject matter because, at this point, I feel like we are the bad guys of the world. The way we treat other countries, the way we just fund militarism everywhere and don't care about life,
we've by far been the bad guys of the world for decades, since World War II. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So this is our graphic. Trump's kill list, Marco terrorist, and fossil fuels armed forces. And thank you, Scott, he actually came up with the title this time too, because I'm like,
okay.
I'm not as much of a foreign policy, I don't know, aficionado, I guess, as some, but I do have an interest because I see how it affects domestic policy.
Yeah, and I think, in fact, I think some kind of security announcement came out. Maybe they do that on a regular basis, and people read the thing and they were all so confused. So yeah, I think it's a confusing mess right now. But yeah, we'll try to delve in and see what kind of analysis we can add, and hopefully we've found some things that you folks haven't seen. That's why we do this, to try to bring items that people may not be familiar with. So
okay,
but you have some breaking news already that I did not know about. You brought this in this morning.
Yep, let me grab it. There we go.
And again, folks, we just grabbed this thing. The title, it's a little embarrassing. He got impeached for war crimes. He didn't get impeached, unless I'm not understanding if there's a different rule for folks who are not the president. But I mean, to be impeached, you got to have a vote. So, but anyway, yeah, this congressperson brought articles of impeachment up against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. So that's good. Some kind of actionable event instead of just making stupid speeches and doing nothing.
Exactly. That's what they're good at.
Oh.
Lots of words, no actions. And they were talking about how they bombed the survivors of a hit on a fishing boat. Is that right?
Yep, it was, and they well, actually, Napolitano will get more into it later, but basically, right, they're making a big deal out of the second hit, which happened much later, and the guys were hanging on, putting their hands up, saying, "Please help," and the cool thing, I'll just say it, even though Napolitano does later, that when the Washington Post broke that story that it was Hegseth who said kill them all, they have 7 sources. So they can try to lie their way out of this one, but at least the Washington Post did some real work and got 7 people who are saying that. No, he said that. So
yeah. So just to read the article a little, Thursday, Congressman Sri Thanadar filed articles of impeachment against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The charges: murder, conspiracy to murder, and reckless mishandling of classified information. So this is from Aaliyah Morrow, her Substack. She says, this is what happens when you hand the Pentagon to a Fox News host.
Yeah, well,
they're making a big deal about bombing the survivors, but if you go down a little further, the scale of this, since September 2nd, the U.S. has conducted at least 21 strikes on boats in the Caribbean,
I didn't know
Eastern Pacific, and killed at least 83 people.
Yeah.
The Trump administration claims these boats carry members of drug cartels designated as terrorist organizations. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Sorry. You want their oil.
The legal justification remains classified. A group of Senate Democrats have requested the Justice Department legal opinion be declassified, noting few decisions are more consequential for a democracy than the use of lethal force. Yeah, I mean, I do know that they have, I guess the way they did it was they made a declaration that Maduro is a narco-terrorist, and that designation allows them supposedly to go down the chain of command and just anybody who's in a boat. So that's their, military legal reasoning for how they say they can do this. But we're going to get more into it later in terms of how there's a history of that going through Cheney and Obama. So yeah, we'll talk more. But it got me thinking also that if we brought that up, there hasn't been a declaration of war by Congress since World War II. So our presidents have made decisions to bomb countries without any congressional approval. The thing that should show you that both parties are pro-war parties is that if the opposing party, right, the president of the opposing party drops a bomb, starts a war that Congress didn't declare, why isn't there articles of impeachment against that president immediately?
And why aren't there articles of impeachment from his own party?
Right, but at least
for people that are taking their job seriously, that are doing what they signed on to do, that are there to protect the Constitution, and that is their job.
Right. But let's say that, that's what I mean. That's
at the very least,
I'm speaking to a fake partisanship,
yeah,
that are that they fight each other. They don't, because obviously the opposite party should bring impeachment articles against the guy they want to office, supposedly. But they always seem to be okay with it. They might say something, no articles of impeachment ever. So that goes back and forth, folks. So both parties are good with war. Both parties want that stuff because their donors want it.
Exactly. So they're bought and paid for. They don't belong to us.
Oh, hell no.
And I like to remind people, if they were serious about the impeachment the first time in 2016, they would have done it on the emoluments clause, which states that a sitting politician cannot, especially president, cannot make money from their office. The reason they didn't do that, because they'd all have been in trouble. And now he's just like making billions.
He just takes it to a new, and they've, I think, it was Max Blumenthal when they were talking about that new announcement that they made, that's basically the new style of Trump's, is that there's absolutely no hiding. They just do this openly. They say they do it openly, and yet no complaints. No official complaints. I mean, the public might try, but nothing is coming from Congress to stop any of it.
Right. So while you get the next clip ready, I'll put this up. This is from Jules. Not going to try that one.
No, we'll let that go.
Because I'm going to butcher it, but thank you, Jules. Hey, just a reminder that we spent $6 trillion with a T.
Yeah.
Dollars on the war on terror, which averages to $1 billion a day since 9/11. Imagine pumping $1 billion a day into schools, healthcare, infrastructure, and small businesses for the last 18 years.
Right.
What a waste.
Yep.
And this is why foreign policy has everything to do with domestic policy. It also ties into the way we treat people in other countries is the way they are now treating us. Like, I mean, I could see it coming from space, but not everybody makes that connection. And I understand. I mean, the world is a crazy place. It's like being in a tornado of information all the time. You have to be very discerning.
And,
what you read.
I wanted to add that, I call myself like a humanist. That's the kind of the best term I can come up with. And that basically what it means is I don't care if you live in Palestine or the Congo or, Venezuela. I care about a human life. I care about a person. And, all of these folks in America who don't seem to care about other people in other countries. I mean, also understand that country borders, those are set up to block poor people. They don't block rich people. Rich people couldn't give a fuck about borders. They're flying everywhere, multinational corporations. There's no such thing as borders to rich people. So those are set up to block poor people, folks. So
and
remember that.
They have no loyalty or care about about countries. Their God is the almighty dollar or
Right.
whatever works for them.
Right. I
Um,
mean, they made all the borders in Africa in the 90s. They just made them up, right? It was all made by European colonialists. So
yep. So I'll bring up the next article.
yeah.
This is from Counterpunch. We tried to get to this last week, but we run long sometimes. The warning we ignore at our peril, from El Salvador's dungeons to America's doorsteps. And this is another reason why it matters. What we practice in the world comes back here, what we've allowed. I'll just read a little bit of it.
Sure.
We inhabit a historical moment that resurrects with chilling familiar. Oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't be reading familiarity. The state terrorism once made visible under Hitler, Franco, Mussolini, Pinochet, and other dictators who transformed cruelty into a governing philosophy. So just be thinking about what's going on with ICE right now while we're
Absolutely.
reading this. Central to such regimes lies a single devastating truth. The law collapses the moment violence becomes its substitute. In this descent, due process evaporates, political opponents are rebranded as terrorists, and violence becomes the organizing principle of power. Independent media are smeared or silenced, universities are targeted for their critical capacities, and the spectacle of brown-shirted, goose-stepping thugs hunting down racialized others slips back into public view as a normalized, even celebrated form of public life.
Right. There we go. That
Do
is
we
certainly the
see
US.
now?
That is certainly the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does talk a little bit about Venezuela here. This is the central lesson of illegal abduction and exile of Venezuelans to one of the most notorious prisons in El Salvador, a maximum security torture chamber run by Bukele. It is a canary in the coal mine, a rehearsal for the next stage of violence that will be unleashed on Americans. More than 200 Venezuelan migrants were seized and sent to a notorious maximum security torture dungeon in El Salvador. Yeah. Punished for the ink on their skin, not for any crimes.
And, we have a large number of Venezuelans here because of our massive, massive sanctions that we put on that country. Our government wants to destroy that country. They've been trying to destroy it for decades. So, and it's not like folks have the political awareness of what goes on. A lot of people have no idea we are putting sanctions on Venezuelans. A lot of Venezuelans don't know that either. So it's just you go where you think you can survive. It isn't, it's not necessarily loyalty. It's just you got to get out of where you are. So, and again, because of the U.S. sanctions.
I wanted to put this comment up. Thank you. Don't know how you say your name, but Eli Cook.
Oh, right.
The borders are also useful to hoard their money in tax havens.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Right.
Great point.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, also tying this back to America, our foreign policy, how it affects Americans. I don't know if you have that about the American teenager in the Israeli prison.
I will get that.
This young man has been, he's from Florida, and he was kidnapped by the IOF, and he's been in an Israeli prison for months. So this is gonna let you know how I think I see it. Yeah.
Tell me when you got it up.
That we're not protecting our own citizens, and you're going to see even more of that later. Okay. Yep. Go ahead and play it.
In Israeli military detention, 16-year-old Mohammed Zahir Ibrahim, a Palestinian American from Florida, has been released from Israeli prison and reunited with his family. Upon his release, Ibrahim was rushed to the hospital where he was diagnosed with scabies and was only allowed to eat spoonfuls of soup at a time because his body has become weak and so used to little and bland food. While in detention, Ibrahim lost over 25 pounds around 11 kilograms. For the first few hours after his release, he was quiet and didn't really believe he was free. His family planned to take him back to the United States in a couple of weeks when he's fully recovered from his time in prison. In a statement, Ziad Kaddour, a close family friend, wrote, "Words can't describe the immense relief we have as a family right now to have Mohammed in his parents' arms." He added, "The family has been living in a horrific and endless nightmare over the last 9 months. We couldn't believe Mohammed was free until his parents wrapped their arms around him and felt him safe." Ibrahim was on holiday in the occupied West Bank when Israeli forces arrested him for allegedly throwing stones at Israeli settlers. The arrest occurred in the middle of the night, where Israeli forces blindfolded and handcuffed him. Ibrahim said he only confessed to throwing stones because the soldiers beat him. If found guilty, he was facing a potential maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. While in detention, Ibrahim wasn't aware that his cousin, Saifullah Masalet, a 20-year-old dual American citizen, was beaten to death by Israeli settlers. In June 2025, while visiting relatives in the village of Sinjil in the West Bank, a confrontation occurred with Israeli settlers, resulting in the death of Masalet. At the time, the Israeli military said authorities were looking into reports a Palestinian civilian has been killed, but so far, almost 6 months later, nobody has been arrested. Ibrahim and Masalat used to work together in the family ice cream shop back in Tampa, Florida. Ibrahim's family credits a sustained grassroots pressure campaign for his release and is seeking justice for his cousin. At the same time, his family is urging continued advocacy for the hundreds of Palestinian children still held in Israeli military prisons. Israel is the only country in the world that systematically prosecutes children in military courts, according to UNICEF. Official Palestinian statistics indicate that over 9,000 Palestinian children have been apprehended by Israel in the West Bank in the past 2 years. Of them, around 350 Palestinian children are currently being held in Israeli jails. Many have never been charged with a crime, and human rights groups, as well as the United Nations, say some have suffered abuse and torture. According to the Defense of Children International, Israel prosecutes up to 700 Palestinian children in military courts every year, with 73% of the children reporting that they faced physical violence following their arrests by Israeli forces. The conviction rate for Palestinians in Israeli courts is around 99%. No fair justice system in the world has numbers like that.
Yeah, it's on, if this were happening in any other country, I mean, and US citizens were being jailed, beaten, tortured, killed, it would be nonstop news. Absolute nonstop news. I know. It's hard.
Sorry, you can see my face, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine hurting a kid. I just can't imagine it.
And they do it systematically, constantly, always. I mean, it's hard to get a depth of how sick the society is there. And again, how sick is our country that we're not outraged? And, there is without a doubt that one of the reasons that this U.S. citizen doesn't get the attention that they deserve, this child, is because their name is Muhammad. I mean, there's without a doubt that is part of the reasoning here. And it's just sick. It's
racism.
Sick. It's absolutely sick.
It's racism. I wanted to bring up Brian Grigsby's comment. What's up, Brian? The rapidity with which the R's and D's are destroying this country always amazed me. Wake up to the lies du jour. Vote green. I finally had a chance to tell a non-believer. I told you so. They agreed.
Good for you. Well, I'm glad you had success. I don't have as much success in that world. No, it's weird. Like I don't know that if I post on Facebook, any of those people from the past would ever see any of that stuff, but I really wanted to get on this Hillary Clinton crap. I mean, what, she makes, blaming people watching or making TikTok videos. I mean, again, as a reference to what we just witnessed in that piece, how evil is Hillary Clinton match versus how many Democrats still would like to vote for her for president? I mean, what kind of a divide is it? What has happened to their brains? What has happened to these normally good people? that would want to have somebody in as president as evil as Hillary Clinton. It's astounding.
Yeah, and she was at a fundraiser with Miriam Adelson,
Right. That's
which
where, yeah.
is the funder, probably the main funder of Trump. So
Right.
do you see how it's the same?
Exactly.
It's a big club and we ain't in it.
It is, yeah. And the problem with that club is they're a club of murderers. That's the problem with that club. It is just being that we're not in it. We're not invited.
We're not invited, and
they murder.
And you have to leave your morality at the door to enter.
Did they ever have? I don't know. I don't know if they ever had morality.
I don't know if they did, but I mean, people can't be born that way, right? Or can they? Nature versus nurture. We don't have time for that.
Deep dive. We're going to the deep end of the pool here, folks.
I wanted to remind everybody to please like, subscribe, and share, and help us get out these kind of things that I feel like are getting missed. I mean, Sabby Sabs and Brianna Joy Gray and Gray Zone do a fabulous job, among others. But trying to break through that wall of bullshit propaganda, is hard.
Yeah. Now we are slowly breaking through. Actually, announcement: we have topped 600 subscribers. We were like trying to get there. Now we're at 609. So yeah, thank everybody for subscribing. And if you haven't, please subscribe or send it to a friend and ask them to subscribe, because we're trying to get the word out from the Green Party space. And I think a lot of great stuff gets out there, but it doesn't get identified as Green Party, and we need to work on getting visibility for the Green Party. So this is one way we're doing that. So please subscribe and tell others. Thank you.
Yep. I got a couple more comments and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Brian says, when Hillary was supposed to do healthcare for all, she immediately withdrew and baked cookies for Bill and gave us the recipe.
Oh, I remember that whole, right. She was supposed to be in charge of the healthcare. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
And and the next comment is from our good friend Joe that is running for Senate.
Hey, Joe Harrington running for U.S. Senate with the Green Party in Illinois.
And we'll be on our live stream coming soon.
Yes.
Don't forget domestic policy nightmares. Supreme Court likely to trash birthright citizenship.
I mean, I knew that was coming up. I didn't think that they really, you're probably right.
They took up the case. I heard that yesterday.
Okay.
I can't remember who I was watching.
Oh my God.
The show that Ajamil Baraka is on.
A Black Agenda Report.
There it is. Yeah, they really went in on that. And CDC is downplaying.
I know.
Hepatitis B infant vaccine.
What a nightmare. Our country is a total nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they have no. Yeah, I mean, man. Well, RFK. What a mess. And I hope that people. I hope the thing is, what happens is with you and your doctor. Most of these doctors are going to understand that this is all crap, and they're not going to follow it. I would, But of course, it's still dangerous. Yeah, absolutely dangerous.
Well, thank you, Joe and Brian. Yeah. Last one. Your views will become like a snowball downhill gathering steam if we live that long.
Right. And the problem is the snowball's melting.
It's melting as we go.
That's the problem. We got a good. Do we want to throw up the environmental picture? Do we have that in there? Or do we
we'll do that next week. But anyway, okay. I didn't put it in. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We're trying to stick to foreign policy.
Okay.
But, we care about a lot of things here.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk. I love that you brought this up. Trump's kill list brought to you by Obama and Cheney. This is how they work together.
Right.
You know more about this than me, but I was just going to read it real quick and then let you go with it. To kill alleged drug smugglers in the Caribbean, the Trump administration is weaponizing a power grab forged by Dick Cheney and expanded by Barack Obama.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't have the specifics, and somebody in the chat can probably bring it in. Just certainly after a 9/11, which was probably CIA Israel sponsored event. So we had a massive change in the laws. Was it the Patriot Act? I can't remember specifically, but certainly, we started the black sites and the torture. And so certainly rights, human rights were being, disappeared quickly. So, but then folks, again, when a Democrat is in office, then they don't want to talk about this stuff. So this stuff wasn't really, except for the far left who were willing to go up against the Democrats. This wasn't talked about because, of course, the right loves it, right? The Republicans secretly love this stuff. So, and this article that I'm going to read from, it came from.
Is it in there? Do you want me to?
Yeah, no, we're not going to bring it up, but it's from
Okay.
New Rules Geo, and we got this off of Twitter. And so it is Obama's kill list precedent, the blueprint for Trump's Venezuela strikes. The outrage over Trump's aggressive strikes and accusations of war crimes against Hegseth in Venezuela has a clear origin point. The legal and moral framework for extrajudicial killings was systematically built by the Obama administration. This section is called The New Rule on Killing Americans, 2010. Under President Obama, the U.S. government officially claimed the right to target and kill American citizens overseas without a trial. So that's even worse than what we're doing. These guys are not U.S. citizens. The key case was Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S.-born cleric in Yemen. His father sued. It wasn't even him. It was his father sued to stop the killing. But the Obama administration argued the entire case was a state secret. The courts backed down, saying this was a political question they couldn't rule on. In 2011, a U.S. drone killed al-Awlaki. 2 weeks later, another strike killed his 16-year-old son. That's the part I remembered. Abdul Rahman, who was not a terrorist. He was simply the son of. And Obama made a decision to kill him by drone strike and had to set up a legal precedent to do so. Attorney General Eric Holder made a stunning argument in 2012. He said that the Constitution guarantees due process, but not necessarily a trial. Due process, he argued, could mean just a secret internal government review before a killing. This turned a fundamental legal right into a secretive paperwork exercise. And so I'm not going to read any more of that, but I want you to understand also that. So remember at the time, oh my God, those horrible terrorists, ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Oh God. Okay, so Obama, he drone strike and killed one, but those are terrorists. They're ISIS and they're Al-Qaeda. Well, who created, who funded, who organized, who allowed to rise ISIS and Obama? Our own CIA. And now they've done that to the point where the leader of Syria was one of the original leaders of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And now we installed him with some other countries, Israel and Turkey, to become the leader of Syria. So we have been a part of ISIS and Al-Qaeda from its inception. We, in the press, were against them. In our U.S. government, they work in coordination.
Well, it reminds me of 1984.
Okay.
I know it's probably my favorite book. Where they tell you who the enemy is, and they can change it anytime they want. And if you disagree, you're in trouble.
Right?
Like, no, it's always been this.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. If you're working with the U.S. government and CIA, I mean, there's the quote that says, about the worst thing you could be is an ally, because they will turn on you. I mean, who was it? The narco-terrorists of our past, like in Panama, right? Where who was Noriega? So you work with the CIA. The CIA got him to drop any, just to allow the cocaine smuggling to come into the U.S. And then he decides to start to work for his own country, and they nix him, right? And then they announce that he's the terrorist, even though they worked with him for years as a narco-terrorist, bringing in cocaine. So
I want to talk about this picture because it just dawned on me what it really is. It looks like he's got a falcon.
No, it's a drone. So
I know, but like with the glove, that's how falconers do. He's ready to unleash it.
Oh, okay. You know a reference I didn't even catch. Okay, thank you. Right.
Right.
He's definitely holding it to be released, but I didn't know the reference.
Mhm.
Okay.
And he dropped so many bombs that we ran out. He's the deporter. He's still got the record of deporter in chief. He's deported
Right.
more people than anybody else,
Right.
and he killed Americans on foreign soil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take that down.
So
But
yeah, it was all, and again, we always bring this up, and it's hard to get people to understand that the Republicans and Democrats work in tandem. If you look, especially when you hear these reports of all this, horrific stuff we've been doing in other countries, bombing and all that stuff, it's pretty irrelevant who the president is at the time. The administration behind the scenes is still doing the same work. I mean,
Okay.
it just dawned on me recently. I talked about the Maidan coup in Ukraine all the time, how the CIA worked to get neo-Nazis to overthrow their government and turn into a racist anti-Russian government that started killing ethnic Russians. The Maidan coup happened under Obama. It was his administration that was in there doing that stuff. He was the first one to really start going after Syria, and it took that long for them to take down Syria. So, folks, whoever you think you've won by voting in your party's president, until we dismantle this system, nothing is going to change. We need a president that's not one of those two. A president has to be not from the Democratic Party, not from the Republican Party. Now, how many days will they survive in office before they're assassinated? We'll see. But we have to try, folks. We have to.
Well, it depends on what the American people will do.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I know. We don't want to. I don't want to go too dark today. I mean, we already went dark. Brian says my Republican friends now love Biden and Dems. Republicans think okay to kill drug people like Bush.
Yeah, right. I know. Again, I tell myself not to look at those comments, but my God, all the people cheering the murder of people in boats. It's astounding. It's astounding how propagandized these people are. I mean, first of all, drugs should be legal. I mean, I know that's my, own personal opinion. But I mean, a drug is something you take to yourself. It's something you do to yourself. What about bodily autonomy, folks? I mean, right? If you want to shoot up, I mean,
this may or may not be the opinion of the Illinois Party. But we allow personal opinion, and and I happen to agree. Making something illegal just drives it underground and supports crime.
I mean, it doesn't, and again,
and if it becomes a health issue, it's a health issue.
Right.
It shouldn't be, law enforcement issue.
No.
I mean, why is marijuana not legal across the United States?
It's so stupid. And folks, I don't like marijuana. It's too strong.
Well, I don't want it for me. I'm just like, it's prohibition. No. I mean, how did that work in the 1920s? It all went underground and created this big crime syndicate, right?
And when you look honest to God, when you look at alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, and heroin, look at those four. By far, if you want to be against a drug, which one is the most dangerous? Without a doubt, alcohol. By far. You take heroin, you kind of go like this. Your cocaine, you're like this. Marijuana,
who knows?
Eat food, Cheetos, I want to eat. Alcohol, you could start attacking people and go nuts and jump around and cause violence.
No, lots of drunk driving too.
Right, drunk drive. I mean, the other ones
impairs your judgment. Yeah, for sure.
The others,
they all do. Judgment. Yeah, they all do, and they all have their
driving is not a,
definitely got their drawbacks. Just saying, what you decide for yourself is for yourself.
Right, and if they're going to do something, alcohol would be the only one because it's the one that makes you violent. Not everybody, but I'm just saying the other stuff. Heroin doesn't make you violent. Anyway,
I wouldn't know, but anyway.
Oh yeah, no. I've had friends who are heroin. It's really not.
They all can be destructive in their own way for sure. But
Okay, we were supposed to be
Okay.
talking about foreign policy. Well, foreign drugs, they're coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's still foreign policy. It is the
Adjacent.
war on drugs. The war on drugs. I mean,
War on
it's
drugs.
pathetic.
Yeah. Did we have
It's
something? Oh, yeah, we
stupid.
talked about that
Okay.
already. The war on terror, and how much? I mean, how much have we spent on the war on drugs?
Right. Exactly. It's just the same crap. Oh, should we do the Joti Brar?
Yeah, that's the next thing.
Okay. So this one's interesting, folks. I am a huge fan of Joti Brar. Joti Brar, British. She runs a communist party in Britain, and I can't remember the name of it. Their website is like The Communists. And but she is great, folks. Anytime you see her, I mean, she just does a wonderful. So this time she's on Nick Cruz's show, and she just kind of gives a background, which I think is a good way to look at our foreign policy. There's a few factors that come into it. This factor that she's going to talk about is our obsession with being hegemonic rulers of the world, and so Russia is our big threat. So that's what this has to do with.
Okay, I'll bring it up. There you go.
Okay.
This is RBN.
Yeah, Nick Cruz.
And we're just expanding the conversation.
What's that?
I said we're expanding the conversation. In order to understand, we have to understand something first. But go ahead.
Well, and I just love her perspective, her communist perspective, because I don't hear this stuff very often. So it's really cool, right? So no, it's really cool. And if I could just get my act together, I just had it, and now I'm losing it.
It's up. If you just find the play, there we go.
I'm just gonna guess that I'm in the right spot.
Looks like
Cuba represents a permanent threat to the imperialist ruling class, and they will do everything they can to try to starve the Cuban people into submission. I think what you have to recognize actually is while the imperialist sanctions have been successful in making life difficult for Cuba, remember Cuba is this tiny island. It's a tiny island. And if you really blockade it hard, you're going to make things very difficult for the people, not only because, of course, any country will find it difficult if it can't trade with anybody else, but when you're such a tiny island, it can't possibly be self-sufficient. Cuba can't have its own heavy industry, right, on the basis of this very small island. It has to have trading partners. Now, while the USSR was there, then it had a main trading partner it was able to get all the industrial products it needed via the USSR and the socialist bloc. When European socialism and the USSR fell, that was catastrophic for Cuba. I think what we have to recognize is how incredibly strong the socialist system really is. Look at the DPRK, look at Cuba, look how they've held on to a socialist system despite genocidal sanctions for decades. Coming back to Joseph Stalin, he made a prediction all the way back to the 1930s. He was in an interview with some Western journalist. And the journalist asked him what would happen if the Soviet Union fell. And he said, if the Soviet Union fell, the working and oppressed peoples of the world would be seized by the throat. That was his prediction. And that is exactly, you're right, that's exactly what we saw from 1991. Now, if you think we had it bad in the West, and we have had it bad compared to what we had before, think about what's happened to the people in the rest of the world. Look at the bloodshed. Look at the endless genociding that's ramped up to a whole new level since the fall of the USSR, since the USA and Britain and France and Germany felt that there was no one to get in the way of their rampaging. Immediately as the USSR was falling, the Germany, America and Britain were in the Balkans, weren't they? Inciting war and destroying Yugoslavia. The number of people who died in that war, they still have the cheek to say that until the Ukraine war, Europe was in peace, when they spent a decade drenching Yugoslavia in blood to break it into pieces, right? The wars in the Middle East, again, the Soviet Union hadn't finished, hadn't officially fallen when they launched the first war against Iraq, but they could see it was in the post. Gorbachev was their man. The Soviet Union wasn't going to put up any resistance. And so they felt free to launch this massive ramped up campaign of let's reassert our primacy over the vitally important Middle East, and the Middle East, of course, oil, right? But that campaign to reassert primacy in the Middle East, look at the wave of bloodshed. The Gaza genocide is the latest episode in that. But it's been a genocidal 3 decades, has it not? Since 1991, if you're the people of the Middle East. Remember Madeleine Albright telling us that 500,000 Iraqi children, being starved to death was a price worth paying, just incidental along the road. This is the reality of the system. We have to recognize how, in fact, what Cuba's resilience as a tiny island right next to the USA, faced by this suffocating, strangulating regime, what does that tell you about socialism? It tells you how strong it is, right? When you have a planned economy, when you have a mobilized working class, look how much you can withstand. They're still educating all their people for free, up to every level. They're still employing their people. They're still producing things. They are still making sure that everybody has free healthcare from the cradle to the grave. They have better life expectancy in Cuba, despite these incredible sanctions that are trying to starve them and strangle them. They have better medicine and better life expectancy than 99% of US workers do, right? So this shows you how incredibly strong socialism is. And the idea, we're supposed to judge socialism by the difficulties that Cuba faces when it's a tiny island being strangled by a massive, all-powerful neighbor.
Mm.
What we need to recognize is, look what they've withstood, and they're still there, and they're still not backing down. What does that tell you? That tells you that ultimately the power of a risen people is really indomitable. You see the same when you look at the DPRK. You see the same when you look at Venezuela. Once you mobilize the people and you harness their power and bring it into the state and the productive forces in a meaningful and systematic way, you create something that is 1,000 times stronger than any capitalist society, even an imperial society with all these advanced weapons. And the other just little point I'd like to make about the balance of forces in the world and what began the tipping point. A lot of people now are looking and talking about the multipolar world order and the rise of Russia and China and how that's starting to stop, the USA in its tracks. And that's absolutely true. But we have to recognize something, which is the beginning of that was the October Revolution in 1917 in Russia, the beginning of there being non-imperialist powers in the world, socialist working class powers in the world, who could outstrip technologically the imperialists. Remember, imperialism is not just a financial power, it's financial power backed up by the most advanced technology, which means the most advanced weapons. And when you go everywhere with all your money and you've got weapons behind your back that says, if you don't accept our financial might, we'll force it on you at the barrel of a gun, and our weapons are much more advanced than yours. It's an unequal contest and you can't stand up to us. That was the basis of imperialist domination of the globe up until 1917. After the October Revolution and the growth of national liberation, but especially after the growth and development of socialist industry and the unleashing of the potential of the Soviet people, what we started to see was that the USSR, if it had stayed on the track it was on, it was starting to overtake the most advanced imperialist powers technologically. And that's the basis still of Russia's ability to stand up for itself. It's the basis of China's ability to stand up for itself, Cuba's, Venezuela's. It's the base of the whole anti-imperialist world's ability to look back at the imperialists and say, no, you can't push us around.
So I love Joti.
That was fantastic.
I know. I love her. And the thing is, okay, folks, I'm not a communist, but I think about it, right?
Well, she was talking about socialism.
Right. But
Yeah.
I mean, the Marxist thing is you get socialism first and then communism comes later. And in fact, I should have grabbed it. There's a meme about a leader of China, Xi Jinping, talking specifically about that, saying, we are socialist. He's the leader of the Communist Party, right? And they run the place. but he said, we are socialist. It is the plan. And that plan has been going on for what, 80 years? They've been, not quite communist. So I love hearing that kind of stuff because it reminds me, oh, that's right. I remember how we were competing with Russia to be the first on the moon and all that kind of, right? There was all this competition stuff when we were growing up. And it's wonderful to hear a non-imperialist propaganda perspective. Does it mean it's completely right? I don't know, but it's really great to hear it from a different place. To put 1991 in context, I mean, all I knew from, wow, they took down the wall, and it's great. Well, I mean, walls are stupid, right? And so you see the wall breaking down, you see the people coming over, and it's a big celebration. And I'm not dissing that, but understand the full context of what that means. Like she said, what did we do? When Soviet Union was dissolved, boom, we went in to hit Yugoslavia. I mean, it isn't, I would have never thought of that before. But having Joti's perspective, right? Having Joti's perspective is fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
and in a democracy, you can decide what kind of economic system you want.
right.
It's not anti-democratic to say, this rampant capitalism is, not really helping us out. And a lot of people are suffering. I mean, the poverty rate is through the roof. And we're probably going to talk about that next week, that the poverty line is
Oh
not,
my God.
is not what you think it is.
The numbers are
That was supposed to be the floor.
Staggering. Yeah.
Um,
And I also want to add the other main difference, and again, I'm just learning all this stuff, is the whole socialist communist concept is planning. So I know that China has their 5-year plans, and I think Russia used to do that. I'm not sure, or Soviet Union, but it's the idea of government planning. When you're planning a system and not being completely dependent on CEOs of private companies who have got to make those numbers each quarter, and they got to make their shareholders happy, and they got to do profits no matter what. Those are the two different systems upon we build societies. Well, there's a reason why China's doing a lot better. They've got high-speed rails going everywhere, and we have train derailments, right? So,
well, and I would argue there are some things that need like a collective push to make it happen.
right.
And the basics of our life, like, food, shelter, and healthcare should be supplied.
Yeah.
The government's job, the reason we supposedly hired them is to make sure that we don't sink below this floor. That is their job. But come on, y'all. They have completely failed. So the system is completely broken. I did want to bring up Joe's comment because it's a really good one. So I looked up exactly what this says. And thank you, Joe. Article 1, 14th Amendment. If talking about Supreme Court, rule favorably on Cheeto Man's behalf, then our Constitution is officially completely rendered null and void. Anything more troubling than this probability?
Yeah, without a doubt, our country's falling apart. And people that have been put in, including the Supreme Court, is helping for this country to absolutely fall apart. What is the book you're referencing? I'm missing it. Oh,
so for those who don't know, I always have this handy.
I thought it was a scroll. I thought it was like this long scroll that you opened up.
They actually put it in book form.
Oh,
and I think you get new ones for your pocket. So Amendment 14, 1868, Citizens' Rights, Section 1. Any person born or naturalized in the United States and governed by it is a citizen of the United States and of the state in which says he resides or lives.
Ew.
I know.
Yeah, and I do know a little of the historical context. That was post-slavery, so to folks who now were freed, but in a way, what's so sick is because that's probably who they're trying to attack when they're going to rescind this stuff, right? Or African American.
Well, but it puts everyone at jeopardy. That means everyone listening, your citizenship could be revoked for any reason that they want because they are not following due process. The laws have completely gone out the window.
Oh,
So,
the
so
only
Joe, you are right that it
Yeah.
is deeply troubling.
the only law they're following is the law of skin color. I mean, that's the only law they're following. I mean, they're pulling women out of cars who are U.S. citizens. I mean, it's just yeah, no.
And
There's
when they get done with
absolutely
skin
no-
color, they'll come after the people that are fighting on their behalf.
right, absolutely. Any protesters, now saying free Palestine is anti-Semitic, right? So any protesters are going to be also under attack, and that's same as Nazi Germany, folks. Same
Yep.
as Nazi Germany. The
Yep.
protesters were
Well,
dragged.
like that article we had earlier in the show, all the signs, it's right there. They're following the playbook.
Yeah.
And if we don't pull this back, I mean, that's why I am so adamant about a general strike. That is the only thing, we have to break it. Elections come later, but we can't even ensure that we'll get there if we don't break it now.
Yeah.
They have to be stopped in their tracks.
Right.
And the only thing they care about is money. So that's what you get. Where you spend your money matters. Spend it locally, pull it away from the corporations. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like a hierarchy. The billionaires own the corporations. Okay. The billionaires also own our politicians, right? The politicians are supposed to run our government. Where are we? We're like way down there. Yep. Anyway, what did you want to do next? Let's see what we got. So I have this. This ties into what she was talking about. This next graphic, I'll put it up here.
Okay.
This is why we said, I'm talking about Rubio in the title. We must go to war with Venezuela because of, I don't know, Hezbollah.
I know.
Wrong side of the world, dude. Are you clueless? Like
they've been trying to make that a propaganda. Their propaganda can be so stupid, but they're not the only ones saying that. Somehow there's some tie between.
Yeah, and thank you, Stu Peters, for this. This is great from Fox News.
Yeah, and we had an article, but it was on a paywall, so we can't bring it up. They let me read it once, but basically that Marco Rubio, this has been his thing from the beginning. He's been after Venezuela. He wants to take down Maduro and allow us to come in and with our private oil companies and steal it all. But and so I always think of the picture, the little press thing that they did with Dick Durbin. And he voted for Marco Rubio, and he said, "Oh, there are so many things that we agree on." So again, folks, when it comes down to this kind of stuff, the Democrats and Republicans work together. He was unanimous, and we knew what a nightmare Marco Rubio was, right? We knew that for years. I mean, just the worst of the worst of the worst. And he comes up for Secretary of State, and all the Democrats vote for him. Holy shit.
And I know it's hard to like come to terms with this, but if we're going to survive, if we're not going to go full on fascist and have people start, people are already dying in detention. We got to wake up to this. I mean, it is necessary at this point. We got to put aside our ego and our feelings, look at the facts, understand what's happening, and make an informed decision. Like, Brian says, socialism requires an educated populace that will not be allowed.
Yeah.
But who says, I mean, come on, we're Americans. We don't do what we're told. I mean, we used to not.
I was thinking that also the other interesting thing is we've got this massive propaganda, but we also have the tools, I think, to get more information than we ever have before in terms of like the speed at which, I mean, we could go research books and look in libraries and drive and get but now we got it all here. And so I feel like I've learned more on YouTube and its affiliates and Twitter and all that stuff than I ever have in my lifetime. Learn more, so it's a negative time, but it's a positive time too, because the opportunities are out there. The way to spread information is tremendous. I had posted, it got me so discouraged. I posted this on Facebook, how it's really sad now that if you see a video of somebody like fighting back against ICE, there's a really good chance it's AI. There was there was the woman, the Mexican woman in the restaurant, and she's yelling at ICE, telling them to get out of there in a like the deli kind of setup. And somebody said, it's AI. Look at her hand, and her hand's like in the food. It's like, oh God. And you can't tell. But I've seen a number of them.
I can't understand why they're doing that.
Oh my God. It pisses you off. It's like,
unless they're just trying to encourage people to like be in their face. And I don't know. Yeah. I saw one of a woman slapping somebody. I think that was probably AI.
Yeah, there's one of a police officer in New York arresting an ICE agent. It's like, people, it's fake.
Yeah, right.
It's fake, and
yeah,
I don't. It's just
what's their name?
It makes people think that something good is happening when it isn't. That's the other discouraging thing. I don't know.
Great point.
AI is going to destroy us, folks. It's gonna.
We have a window right now. We have power with what we buy, whether or not we decide that we can go to work. And I know a lot of people that have lost their jobs recently.
Oh God, yeah.
AI is already coming for you. They don't care if you survive. I mean, obviously. So this is while we still have a little strength in us, while we still have some resources, before they clamp down completely, we have to do this now. I don't know why anybody would be waiting.
Right.
And Green Party is a tool in the box, because we're organizers, we're activists, and we run for office. So can you imagine let's just imagine like if the Green Party had majority in DC, do you think any of this crap would be happening?
Right.
It's completely against everything we stand for. But we can move on. Let's see. So you had what was it next?
I think Judge Napolitano
gives legal background to boat attacks in Venezuela.
Okay.
It starts at 16 or an hour.
Yeah, 16.
Hour 16:55. Okay.
All right. Oh, did I put it up yet? Oh, thought I had.
While you're looking for that, I'll do this because this ties in. This is why we attack other countries. This is why we want to overthrow their governments. This is why people flee their countries, because it becomes violent because they don't care. And thank you, Abby Martin. She's fantastic. I mean, she did a documentary, which maybe we can look into maybe doing that. I don't know what the paywall is, but that the military is the biggest, contributor to climate devastation that there is.
Yep.
If everybody completely went fossil free, military would still be doing it. Fossil fuel companies have an army, and that army is the U.S. military.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when we're in those countries. I mean, like I had said before, there's a couple of dynamics going on at the same time, but basically, so if our invading other countries and trying to destroy them is kind of threefold. It's oil, almost, or other natural resources. Battery now is changing some of that, but it's still primarily oil. Weapons manufacturers, they don't care what war we're in. They're a little pissed that Ukraine may be ending or on the way, so that now they really want Venezuela because they want a constant America buying their bombs and sending them somewhere. That's the military industrial complex. And then there is the neocons in our government, and they are there no matter what administration runs it, no matter what administration. They are eternal
until they are charged with their war crimes,
and until there's somebody to charge them, because the Democrats will not charge them and the Republicans will not charge them. So somebody in there to break it apart, the underlying what goes on. They used to call it deep state. That was real popular a while back, but it's until we get in to actually break it apart. Democrats and Republicans aren't going to break it. So what we have are these neocons that think that the U.S. has to run the world, and so they're going to do everything they can to destroy their competitors, Russia and China, and everybody else in between on the way. So,
wanted to say hi to Jacob Sadabras.
Oh, hey Jacob, how's it going?
We're in a gilded age with AI, and billionaires are hoping it stays this way as long as it can, to centralize as much wealth and power as possible.
Yeah, tech feudalism. I mean, it's it's a realism. It is really here. All right, so this is
Gray Zone.
Gray Zone.
And Judge Napolitano. I don't know who this person is, but I guess
that's Wyatt Reed. He works for Gray Zone.
Okay. All right. And Max Blumenthal.
Yeah, and maximum without. Do you have it full screen? Do you see it full screen?
It's full screen, yeah.
Okay.
A recent Newsmax appearance, you called Secretary of War Pete Hegseth basically the Secretary of War Crimes and questioned the entire legal rationale for what he's called Operation Southern Spear. This all relates to a September 2nd, or it focuses for now on a September 2nd strike ordered by Admiral Mitch Bradley on a boat containing 11 men in the Caribbean. I don't know why you'd stack your boat with 11 men if you wanted to bring a lot of drugs into the U.S., or why you'd have such a small boat that can't even reach the U.S. But 2 men survived the initial strike, were clinging to the boat, and a second double tap strike was ordered, apparently by Hegseth. Bradley was just on Capitol Hill yesterday trying to make his case. What is your critique? Why did you call Pete Hegseth a war criminal?
The killing of the 2 people that survived really should not divert focus from the entire project, which is a series of war crimes. The idea that the President of the United States can use the military to kill people who he believes are about to commit a crime, even though at the time of their deaths, they're 1,500 miles away from the United States, is antithetical to the concept of due process. It's pretty basic that under the Constitution, there's only 2 ways the government can kill anyone. That is pursuant to a declaration of war by the Congress, where the U.S. military is legally fighting.
Oh, sorry.
Some cookies sweeten your holidays.
We do not approve
While
of
the
this
wrong
message.
ones slow down your math.
The military and agents of the country against which we've declared war, or after due process, which is basically a fair jury trial with all the attendant rights and defenses that the Constitution requires the feds and the states to make available to you when they want your life, liberty, or property. So it's pretty basic that the entire concept is a war crime because it is the use of the U.S. military to kill non-combatant civilians.
Right.
The execution killing ordered by either Pete Hegseth or Admiral Bradley, we've gotten 2 different versions of this, Max, is what brought this to everybody's attention. But I'm concerned that we lose sight of the bigger picture. The other issue that brought this to everybody's contention was the rather courageous but incomplete video prepared by 6 members of Congress who themselves are veterans of the military or the intelligence community, in which they basically made a truthful statement, which is that you don't have to obey an illegal order. The president, of course, typically overreacted and said they committed sedition, they committed treason, they should be killed, executed. It's unclear if by killed he meant that they should be tried for a capital crime, or that he would dispatch the military to kill them, as he has these boat people. Sedition is defined in the statutes as encouraging people to use violence to overthrow the government of the United States. Treason is defined in the Constitution. It's the only crime defined in the Constitution, intentionally so that Congress or a president couldn't alter the definition. And it is well known as waging war in the United States or providing material assistance to those who are doing so. So neither of these statutes is relevant. The video is perfectly lawful and utterly laudatory, except when these 6 people were eventually interrogated on mainstream media, they didn't back down from what they said, but they refused to say, what's the illegal order of which you speak? They all know, and we all know, the illegal order is to kill civilians, to kill unarmed non-combatants. That's the illegal order.
Well, isn't that the... Go ahead, Wyatt.
Well, so the Trump administration's position, though, is that these are not non-combatants. That's why they've deployed this narco-terrorism designation to Nicolas Maduro and everyone down below him. They claim that because of their supposed involvement in some kind of drug trafficking conspiracy, they can forego treating them as human beings and basically kill as many of them as they want at any point in any place.
That, of course, flies in the face of federal law, international law, the laws of war, and even the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which expressly prohibits members of the military from killing those who are unarmed.
I think that, yeah, I just wanted to get a kind of some legal background to what is going on and have, Judge Napolitano has a good sense of all those specifics. So, yeah, it's just, it kind of gets back to what I was saying about how there is on some level where both parties just go along.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they certainly are picking on this part, but the entire thing is illegal. And, again, we have to get rid of all of these people on both sides, because the one side will complain, but basically allow it to happen. And we've seen that with every single invasion of all these countries, where the other side might complain some, nothing
Well-
done to stop.
Well, I think the words you use are very important.
Yeah.
So let's look up the definition of terrorism. A terrorist is somebody who commits terrorism. So think about who is doing these actions.
Yeah.
The use of violence or the threat of violence, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political goals. Who was the one that threatened violence?
Right.
Number 2, the act of terrorizing or state of being terrorized, a mode of government by terror or intimidation. Number 3, the practice of coercing governments to accede to political demands by committing violence on civilian targets. Any similar use of violence to achieve goals.
And, add on top of that, Trump just pardoned a drug runner. He's just like 2 days as he's doing this stuff,
It's all
bombing
bullshit.
drug boats. He pardons a narco-terrorist. I mean, it's
Somebody that was actually convicted of doing that,
Right, right.
through the due process of law.
right through the right process. He pardons so that he can go while he goes and bombs people who aren't committing any acts of violence. If they're not fishing, we don't know. If they're just trying to make a little money selling drugs to another country, not even us. They were going back and forth between two countries, not the US. Ugh.
And even if any of that's true,
Right.
at this point, do we believe any of it? And look at the definition of terrorism.
Right.
Isn't that
No
what we're
terror.
doing to the world? We are terrorizing the world.
We definitely are terrorists. We are the number one terrorist organization in the world. There's no contest.
Yeah. So
ISIS
yeah.
thinks they're big.
there you go. Before democracy and after democracy.
Right.
Iraq, sorry. Libya, Syria, Yugoslavia.
Yep.
We destroyed their society and we killed tons of civilians, millions, and it doesn't have to be this way. We have to get control of our government.
Yeah. Folks,
You
we
know?
have to stop.
The government needs to answer to the people it's supposed to represent.
And we have to understand what their operations are. Anytime they're going to do a war, there's a whole ton of propaganda that comes in before they do their, thing. And so it used to
Yeah,
be,
it's gross.
we are trying to save democracy. That doesn't seem to be the popular one. Now it's narco-terrorism. But
Mhm.
again, there's a whole bunch of propaganda to get the public to at least think there might be some reason why we're doing this. We have no right to do any of the things that we do. No right at all.
Well, and the next thing you put in the show, this is Scott mostly put together this show, and you did a fabulous job, I have to say.
Okay.
But the one about Trump intervenes in Honduran election and endorses a right-wing candidate and pledges to pardon former narco-trafficking president.
Yeah.
So we are, here's just proof that we were all been out of shape about some, I don't know, memes on Facebook or whatever. But he's actively supporting a right-wing candidate in Honduras in the upcoming presidential election. And pardoning President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was sentenced in 2024 to a 45-year sentence on drug trafficking and weapons charges.
Right. So we didn't even have that part of the story. He pardoned this person as he's killing other drug traffickers, a sentenced, convicted drug trafficker, so they can get out and win an election.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a nightmare. Yes. So supposedly, I was watching Gray Zone was also covering this. Their latest is on the Honduran situation, which is a mess. And supposedly the election is just completely a complete disaster. They were talking about how 8 years ago, like all the TV outlets all went black for a couple hours, then came back on, and suddenly there was a new person leading the election. And I guess it's happening again. So the power.
Oh no.
Power run out, it comes back, and now this person is leading the election. So again, they talk about election interference. My God, I mean, what a mess. So I'll read some of this. This is about Joshua Scheer of ScheerPost. Is that what this is?
Maybe.
Okay.
That's not Bob, but maybe a relative.
Okay. Trump threw his support behind right-wing candidate Nasri Tito Asfura in Honduras' upcoming presidential election, along with pardoning former Honduran president. Oh, it was the former president that he pardoned. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was sentenced in 2024 to a 45-year sentence on drug trafficking and weapons charges. Members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and other critics immediately sounded the alarm. Their response, a public warning demanding the U.S. stop flagrantly interfering in the elections and instead respect Honduran democracy. Okay, a public warning. Okay.
And I want to talk about that. A public warning. Well, why aren't you doing anything about it?
Right.
Oh, well, that's not right. Okay, I got that out there in the press.
Right. Right. I know.
They act like they just don't have any power.
Yeah.
You have the power of the bully pulpit. You have the power to create alliances and within the government to make these things stop.
Well, we started with an actual impeachment proclamation. Mm-hmm. So at least, right. If you're doing something to, start a bill or whatever you're doing to get some actual action, legislative action that can do something, because that's what you're there for. I mean, speeches are nothing. Mm-hmm. This, of course, concerns a convicted drug trafficker, even as Trump wraps up his attacks on Venezuela. I'll leave it to the former Human Rights Watch executive director, Ken Roth, to point out the hypocrisy. His words capture behavior that continues to verge on the fascistic far better than mine. So this is from Kevin Roth. It's a tweet. Trump's message: if you're a convicted right-wing drug trafficker, I'll pardon you. But if you're an accused left-wing trafficker, I'll bomb you. Exactly.
Yeah, convicted, accused.
Well, one is left-wing. If you're a left-wing trafficker, a trafficker.
That's the real distinction. Absolutely. Yeah. So we did have, another article from Savage Minds from Zoe Alexandra. It's talking about the same thing: democracy versus intervention. They don't want. Democracy is a lie. When they say we're bringing democracy to whoever. Well,
that's with the graphic we showed. That's when they brought democracy.
Yeah, I already took it down, but y'all saw it.
Yeah, this is the one I think you want: democracy versus intervention. Here we go.
Okay.
You see it?
Yep, got it.
Okay.
So, where did it go? Okay. So this is from Savage Minds. Honduras votes amid U.S. pressure campaign. It's still talking about the same thing. And, we got completely bent out of shape over something that I don't even think happened in 2020 and 2016 or whenever. But the people of Honduras are voting. I don't know when they did this. I guess they're
this article's from the first. I think that there's an issue. They don't get their results as fast because, they're hand bringing in So I don't know the latest, but actually, no, I think it's still ongoing because I'm pretty sure that Gray Zone's piece came out last night. They were on air Friday night, so I don't think there's a decision yet.
Okay. Yeah, but it appears from what I've heard and read that the Honduran people are rejecting what the United States wants, and I don't blame them.
Right.
And all of these articles are in our show notes. So, yeah. Did you want to read any of that?
Yeah, the Libre is the group that I think was in the lead before this escapade. I'll just read one paragraph. He explains that at the base of the political project represented by Libre veteran Moncada is a strong criticism of the economic system and the economic elites in Honduras. Moncada, he emphasizes, has been very open in criticizing from her positions as finance minister and other roles she has had the control of the country's economy by 10 families and about 26 economic groups that have historically controlled the main sectors of the country's economy. And I think if you guys, want to go check out Gray Zone, they cover that aspect. It had a lot of names I wasn't familiar with, but basically that's what's happening is the 0.1% of Honduras are trying to run the whole place. And so that's why they are trying to, cheat this election because it looked like the fairly left person in the Libre party was in the lead. So
Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
In the United States a little bit?
Yeah.
So, hard to say how things are going to turn out, but we got to get our power back long before the election. Yeah. So, and I put a thing in here. We don't have to cover it if you don't want, but ScheerPost talking about how the CIA secretly triggered the Sino-Indian War. This by Kit Klarenberg.
Oh, Kit. Okay. So yeah, Kit Klarenberg is the other main journalist over at Gray Zone. So let me get this up.
Okay.
No, yeah. No, it's great. I haven't read it yet, but yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'll read a little bit from October 20th through November 21st, 1962. A little remembered conflict raged between China and India. The skirmish damaged India's non-aligned movement affiliation, firmly placing the country in the West's orbit, while fomenting decades of hostility between neighboring countries. Only now are Beijing and New Delhi forging constructive relations based on a shared economic and political interests. A detailed academic investigation ignored by the mainstream media exposes how the war was a deliberate product of clandestine CIA meddling, specifically intended to further Anglo-American interests regionally.
Okay.
I think that's all you really need to know.
Yeah, well, I think it's also good that I want to just also emphasize that actually I did want to talk about this a little.
Okay.
So we jumped the commercials and like, oh, bad commercials. So also just consider if there's a journalist that you really like, that's actually how they're getting paid. So the process is called monetization. So you make your video and then you tag it as to be monetized. Sometimes they block you, and they've been doing that for some people, especially at the beginning of the Hamas situation. But anyway, so what that does is when you see us getting blocked by commercials, we got to skip the commercial. That actually does help pay for folks like Gray Zone. And we don't do it because we're a political party, so we can't add commercials to what we do.
Yeah,
but,
we can't monetize their content.
Right. But just remember, yeah, we hate the commercials, but that's also helping these folks get paid. So but the commercials are awful.
I wish they could choose their commercials. I wonder if they can. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just a button you hit and then
yeah,
they get the worst. And I'm pretty sure the commercials themselves are targeted towards you. So
yeah. Did you want to read any more of this?
No, I think that it's good just to understand
as
that,
context.
Yeah, that it's That's what our government does. We want to try to go into areas, and again, that has to do a conflict between India and China. We want that. Our government wants that. Conflict with Taiwan, they want that. Now Japan has just announced like they're ready to go attack China to get Taiwan free. The U.S. government wants that. It sounded like they may have instigated this themselves. Crazy that their new leader, I guess, is a mess. But our government wants any kind of conflict that they can around China to destabilize. The destabilization is one of the main things that when I say CIA, it's a lot of times it's shorthand for the NED, USAID, any of those organizations. They do it covertly or not covertly, but it's just they want to try to wreak havoc in areas.
And the point of that is to get the resources to make people rich.
Right.
That's what it's always all about.
Yes, they don't like that these other countries are being successful, the socialist countries like China, and they also want to grab the resources. So in Russia, they want the Russian oil. That's also
Well,
like
and the same thing that they have been trying to do to Iran for decades.
Right.
Yeah, same thing. Surround it. Same thing they're doing to Russia. That's what Ukraine was all about. But I wanted to bring this up because we cannot forget about Gaza. Things are still happening there.
Yeah.
There is no ceasefire.
No.
Is no ceasefire. There is no ceasefire. I don't know how many times I gotta say that. Displaced persons are burning inside their tents after having been bombed by Israeli occupation in the Al-Mawasi.
No, it's just so horrific. And again, we watched the story of the child that was released, luckily, and the family congratulating and all the family stories. And you think of, again, I don't know how people can do this, but how they can separate it. But each story that you're hearing in Gaza, there's a family associated with that story, and there are people suffering and it's just.
And a lot of them have family that are American citizens that live here.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We've got William Us4 coming on in a couple of weeks on our show. He is from Gaza originally, and his family is over there. And I know a number of more distant family members have already died, but so he's going to be on our show in a couple of weeks.
And Mark Alborno. That was on our live or telethon. If you all haven't checked that out, it was a lot of fun. It's long though. Just put it on the background because at the end of the night we were just like, I don't know, just telling stories. But it was fun. It was fun. But he's a Palestinian American.
Yeah.
And Brian says you guys should do a movie CIA piece.
It's really interesting to kind of recognize the role that. And again, I know CIA is a little shorthand. Sometimes it's just others within the government and administrations. But foreign policy is even such a weird term. It's not like it's some light policy. It's sick and creepy, but we've been doing this for decades, folks, decades. Another one. Also just the fear of communism. So the fear of communism got us to kill a third of the population of Korea, right? And how many in Vietnam over this fear of communism? Because they can see that, that's the other thing I want to make a good point is, and I've said this before, it's really weird to see a country where the people support their government. It looks fake to us. Right? We look at it like, oh, these people are forced to do this.
We're like, you don't hate them?
I know. It's because it's so foreign to us.
You're not mad at them? Yeah.
But then you start to understand, right? When they've been attacked by the U.S., folks do come together. The number of people that have signed on in Venezuela to be a citizens' army to fight us. And, the pictures of everyone with their guns ready to go, older women standing there, it's really something to see. And that's the thing. It's like if a government is basically all governments are corrupt, But if the government basically has its plan to try to provide for people, they appreciate it. They understand it. We are all here struggling, like we're all barely surviving, and we've got healthcare bills, and we've got rents, and it's just, we're all in terrible situations in this country, except the massively rich. Even the middle class is gone. I think, in my opinion, it's gone. But
I
we
was
all
just going to
struggle.
say, the Venezuelans, the people that live there, understand what a threat we are. They understand. We are an existential threat to their country.
Oh my God.
For no other reason than, having sovereignty, and they have a nationalized oil.
Right.
And American companies want access to their oil, so they will do whatever it takes. And at this point, they're not even trying to feed you too much of a line. I mean, the propaganda is so flimsy.
God, terrific.
So easily disproved. So they're not even trying anymore.
Can we cover one thing? Can we do, it is a little long, we're getting close to our deadline. Can we do this Syria thing? Because I think it might be good for people to kind of just get a sense
you put it up
of, no, I haven't put it up yet, but it might be it's good for folks to give a sense of, so this seems like, and this is a theory, I love this journalist, I'll get her name in a second, but she really has a good analysis of what's going on in the Middle East, and she is saying that it's looking like they have plans for Syria, like what they have done to Palestine. So
but Brian says, but Trump said he broke a total peace in Palestine.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I know, it's so gross. Hold on, let me get
and peace does not mean justice.
1613.
And we don't even have peace.
So let me just show a little of each of these clips so you get a sense of what's going on. So there's a wall that's been almost built around a portion of Syria. So these people are going to be trapped. So
I don't see it up yet. I think we still got the old one, do we?
Okay, hold on.
Apologize for the delay here, folks.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
By Colonel Ralph Peters, who basically rewrote the blood borders, as he called it. So he rewrote how the Middle East should look. So this is basically, and people might be looking at this going, but I don't understand. But effectively, the red barbed wire that you see there, apart from the one that traverses Syria to the south of Damascus, that hasn't yet been built, but in my opinion, it's in the process of being created. Those walls and those security fences are effectively already in place. So if you look at the northern border of Syria, the border with Turkey, which is 825 kilometers.
I'm just going to stop it just so people have a sense. I mean, she really gets into the details.
And say who this
is.
is.
Yeah, Jessica Bealey. Vanessa, I'm sorry, Jessica.
Oh, and who shows it? Jamal Thomas?
Yeah, Jamal Thomas. Again, also recommend him for foreign policy stuff. He runs a show every weekday morning for like 3 hours. He does a ton of work. Jamal Thomas, he's fantastic. And Vanessa Bealey is one of my favorite folks that he has on. She is so knowledgeable. And so basically, I just really cut that first part short just to show you there is a wall in Syria.
And do you think it's going to stop there?
She said it's already the third largest wall in the world. So China, then US-Mexico border, and this is the third. And they are constructing the final parts. And so then let me just skip ahead to this last section.
It's clear that there is a threat. And this is Syrian territory. It's not Israeli territory. It's not American territory. This is Syrian territory. So therefore it can be defended lawfully against an occupying force.
You made the point of saying Syria is being turned into Gaza. What do you mean? Explain that for us.
I think if you look at what we're seeing in Gaza, we know that Gaza is effectively a concentration camp and an extermination camp. And it's even more so now because since the UN Security Council Resolution 2803 was passed, of course, with Russia and China's abstention, what have we seen? We've seen a dialing down of the actual hardcore genocide, but it's still ongoing because there's no humanitarian aid coming in, there's no food coming in. Israel now occupies 58% of Gazan territory. And by the way, it's the territory that is the most abundant from an agricultural perspective. So they've pushed 2 million Gazans from a landmass that was around 40 kilometers by 12 kilometers into a landmass that is on the coast, is desert, is obliterated, is pulverized by 2 years of Zionist bombing. And it's completely surrounded. They can't get out, right? So how I see what they're doing to Syria now, but on a much larger scale, is to create an environment where Syrians are actually corralled inside the territory. They can't easily leave a territory that is overrun by Takfiri elements. And by the way, Israel is creating the same environment inside Gaza because it's using terrorist proxies, ISIS-style proxies in Gaza to attack the Gazan people and to attack Hamas positions, right? And that's effectively what's happening inside Syria. So at that point, what information is coming out of Syria as regards the atrocities that are being committed? Very little, because mainstream media is not reporting on it. The same as in Gaza, right? I mean, Israel was not allowing journalists into Gaza, so they were reliant upon the Gazan stringers who were then being assassinated. What is it? More than 200, almost 300 journalists killed by Israel.
Okay.
Shopping for terrorists used to really grind my gears. So many.
Yeah, I mean,
We
could
do not
probably-
approve this message.
We don't. We could end it there. It's just I wanted people to understand that kind of is. You can, and again, Jessica Biel is just a fantastic journalist. You can see the pattern and the fact that they are walling these folks in, and their leader, who was ISIS, Al Qaeda, is totally on board with what other Israel does. I mean, obviously, this guy has no interest in Syria. He's not Syrian, and he's going to let them just basically, do and I don't like to use the word genocide. It gets overused.
Lightly.
Yeah, it gets overused. But if it comes to a planned, systematic destruction of a people, then that's when the term starts to make sense. And the other thing I had never heard is that she's an excellent journalist. She said that ISIS and Al Qaeda types, Israel's using them to attack Gazans. So I had not heard of that, but it makes sense, folks. Now we've learned that ISIS and Al Qaeda are operatives of U.S. and Israel. And so they work in our interest. And that's what they do everywhere. Our government, to tie up the whole foreign policy thing, our government finds the worst of the worst. In Ukraine, they got the neo-Nazis to do a Maidan coup. They find the worst of the worst to cause chaos, get rid of any elected government that they don't like so that they can install somebody who's going to do their bidding. And Zelensky was doing their bidding. He sold off that country to BlackRock. I mean, thank you. We can end with this one. I know I'm so mean. I post this kind of stuff. It's so mean, but I don't know. I just international symbol for I have no idea what I'm talking about. I just say whatever the TV tells me to. I mean, it's hard to just not. I know. At some point,
I wanted to bring up a comment because I thought it was really astute here. Let's see. There it is. Brian, thanks for being here, Brian. Really adding to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
And you too, Joe, and you too, Jacob.
Yeah.
I watched an old 22 Jump Street, CIA police all over the show, and so many police military shows from from Rosemary's Baby, which I don't understand the reference. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna have to watch that
Manchurian
again.
Candidate, okay.
Classic. To Manchurian Candidate.
No.
Vietnam War movies, just propaganda.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember who covered that. Go ahead.
So I said, I know most of the cop shows are soft propaganda, in my opinion. Like you know,
No, it's not just your opinion.
you go to your relative's house and you're in the kitchen and they're in there watching TV too loud, especially, you know, people that are a little bit older, they can't hear, and you hear this amazing stuff come over the air, and you're just like, did I just hear that? Are they just demonizing all people of color right now? You know, calling them all terrorists. I'm like, oh my God, no wonder. I mean, you got to be selective in what you watch.
Well, I was going to say, I can't remember who covered it, but no, there was CIA / military has taken over Hollywood for decades. They've been doing propaganda. You can't get a script through unless it's approved. So that's why all the, you know, depending on the time period you're in, the bad guys in the movie for a long time, they were Middle Eastern, they were Russian, they were, you know, so no, without a doubt that the Hollywood industry is propaganda, absolute propaganda.
Yeah. And that I don't go to the movies anymore. I would rather watch, you know, YouTube or something that's streaming, because at least I can be a little more discerning on my content.
Well, now they're worried about and our government has long ago gotten rid of the whole idea of antitrust. They just been thrown out the window, and so now all the companies buy each other up until there's only one company. And now the big one is that Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers, and so they're saying, okay, so Netflix is going to like really destroy going out to the film, you know, movies. They deny it, but it's just the idea when you come down to one choice. I mean, yeah, we're in trouble in multiple ways, folks. But I hope we covered our concept of foreign policy.
I think we kind of made it. We may not have covered every single thing that we had in the show, but I think we did really well today. Kept it moving. And
I think to, you know, get the concept of the forces that are on our government to make them act to us, which looks like completely stupid and bizarre ways. And it is true, the propaganda that they derive is just the worst. But yeah, that's the forces that, you know, create what our government is, foreign policy.
Yeah. And I was just gonna mention something I mentioned recently. I think it was on the telethon, that if you go back and watch all those 90s shows, Donald Trump is mentioned in almost every single one.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, did they know were they planting that seed?
Yeah, maybe.
You know, of making him famous so he could be where he is now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like now it's kind of like, once you know, you're like, ooh, you're talking about Donald Trump. You know,
right.
Like why is that necessary? You know, who put that in? Who knows? But thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for contributing in the chat. We really put the comments were fantastic this week.
Yes,
fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Our viewers make our show even better.
And Wednesday we have Joe Harrington coming on, U.S. Senate for Green Party, Illinois Green Party will be our guest. So yeah, and please, if you haven't subscribed, or ask a friend to subscribe, that would be great.
Let's see how fast we can get to 700.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're very welcome.
And totally unrelated, but if you want to vote for my band, Afrofuturistics, we're up for best hip hop group at the Chicago Reader.
Yeah, and
so
Egg
do that too. Oh, not endorsed by the Illinois Green Party. That last statement, not endorsed.
All right, you guys, go enjoy your Saturday as much as you can. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
An uprising, we're rising up.
It's an uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising.
Fight the power.
It's an uprising.